Beijing's new cluster of COVID-19 cases is threatening to grow into a much larger outbreak. On Tuesday, 31 new cases of local transmission were reported. That makes it 137 new cases in a matter of just 6 days. The city administration has launched a massive test and trace operation to contain the outbreak. Tens of thousands of people are being tested and quarantined across the city. Partial lockdown restrictions have also been imposed. Schools in Beijing have been shut down once again, and a travel ban has been imposed on the medium to high-risk areas in the city. Almost 30 localities in the Chinese capital have been placed under a complete lockdown. A spokesperson for the city administration said that the epidemic situation in Beijing remains extremely severe. Other Chinese cities like Shanghai have started quarantining travelers from Beijing, and all arrivals from Beijing will have to undergo a mandatory 14-day quarantine upon reaching Shanghai. Beijing residents have been asked to not leave the city unless they have taken a nucleic acid test. 1,255 flights at the Beijing airport have also been cancelled. Now that's almost 70% of the air traffic in Beijing. The frantic response to this new cluster indicates that Beijing is keen to avoid a repeat of what happened in Wuhan 6 months ago. For more on this, Patrick Fox sends us this report from Beijing.
Well, officials in China have repeated that the situation is extremely severe. Now, there have been more cases reported in the last 24 hours than the day before, 31, as you mentioned. So the number has grown to 137 confirmed cases in total. It was a little bit more than we had yesterday, of course, when there were 27 reported cases. That may or may not be a concern for authorities. They have said previously that if the numbers remain stable, then it shows that things are relatively under control. So, that slight uptick, 5 or 6 more cases over the last 24 hours, I don't know how much concern that will be, and no doubt they'll be monitoring that over the coming days to see if there is any dramatic rise. That would be a bigger concern if that number does change significantly, because it would potentially show that the outbreak has been wider than has been reported so far, perhaps. But as you say, these measures are being put in place right now, like those 30 communities that have been designated as medium or high risk zones, if you like, and all these flights that are being stopped from coming in and out of Beijing. These are all big steps that are being taken, but it's hard to tell at this moment whether or not authorities are just trying to get a step ahead of this outbreak, or are they just simply responding to the numbers as they see it. Well, it's a really interesting point that you mentioned, because certainly in this part of Beijing where I am, and we're fairly central, you can't actually notice that much change at the moment. Most businesses haven't been told to shut or change their operations or anyway, and you can understand that officials in China will be very reluctant to unravel all the sort of easing of restrictions that we've seen in the recent weeks, and particularly at a time when it is trying to get its economy back on track. So we haven't seen an awful lot of change to business or industry for the time being, but certainly simple things, simple restrictions like getting from district to district and having to go through QR checkpoints and wearing face masks. Also, residential compounds are being told to tighten up on regulations as well. These were things that everybody had been easing up on recently, really.